wedding planning podcast.
What do you do with 50 bud vases after your wedding?
Can you dry clean a crystal-encrusted tulle veil? Or is that asking for tears before bedtime?
And will it really matter if you can't be faffed to leave a review for your suppliers?
You might not have had your big day yet, but today we're talking about the immediate aftermath of your wedding. Honestly, I think you'll thank us later. So, hey, go for it, Vix.
Well, if I say many happy returns, I'm not wishing you a happy birthday. I'm just... but actually, I think when it comes to your big day, it's very easy to get swept up in the prep and the day itself. The aftermath, the doing the boring bits, can feel a bit anticlimactic, I think. But there is real wisdom to putting some thought in before you get to that point, to having all that covered off. So whether it's items that you've hired or borrowed, sale or returns, booze or marquees to be taken down, just think about all your returns before your big day. You won't really want the stress of organising it afterwards. So if you've got that detailed plan in place in advance, it will really help you. And it might not be you doing it apart from anything else.
No.
You know, if you're going on honeymoon and you're going to be entrusting that to other people, they're going to be arranging all those returns on your behalf, then they really need a plan. They need something in black and white that they can follow, that gives them sort of details of deadlines, deposits that need to come back, contact information. I mean, really, really critical stuff,
really
but very
simple.
easy to forget. And contracts. It might be really useful to leave them with any contracts that you've signed, just in case there's any sort of sticky points.
Yeah, I think when couples come to me quite often, they kind of go, oh, but if we hire this, we've got to take it back, and we've got... And actually, no, most of the time, the hire companies or anyone will drop off and collect. You just need to know when.
Yeah.
And who is the best contact number for them? Because having me as the contact number is not of much use if you're having them collected the next day or the day after, unless I'm there for your takedown. So, you know, just getting those bits right. But also, I think, don't miss any of the small print about, like, the timelines in your contracts. And you don't want a late return fee.
No, and that can happen. It's a realistic outcome.
And one of the other things to look at with your venue, especially if you're doing a DIY day, is what happens with your rubbish.
Yes, I think that's... Honestly, I would say that is something that is overlooked more times than I can count.
I'd say every time that is overlooked. I quite often have to say to people, you know that in your contract from your venue it says you must take your rubbish off site. Now, there's multiple things you can do there. Some caterers will take rubbish, some bar services will take rubbish, or it's for you to take that rubbish, or you may be able to pay your venue a small amount to leave.
Yeah.
But you've also got to be careful. You know, there's a venue that I'm working with next year. They've made it very clear, glass does not go in our recycling, and you will be charged should your bar company put glass in our recycling. So just making sure you've got those nitty-gritty bits and you understand the small print bits.
Because, you know, you just touched on it. You can face a financial cost if you don't adhere to those small printed bits. I mean, they're in contracts for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so, for instance, if they say, no glass in our recycling, and you think, oh, it's only a little bit. If you get pulled on it, and it's in your contract that they will charge you accordingly, they are quite within their rights to do so.
Totally. And actually, it's something you don't budget for. I don't put it in your budget. If I'm working with a couple, I don't put in their budget, if you get things wrong at the end, you're going to have to pay this.
Yeah, no, that sort of kind of comes under the heading of common sense. But, you know, actually really it's just giving things like that a little bit of thought. And as we said earlier, it's not the most exciting bit, sort of thinking about the takedown and the clean-up. But actually, to continue to protect your budget, you'd be very well advised to do that.
Yeah, because you get to your day and you think, we've done it all, we don't have to spend any more, and then 2 weeks later you get a bill for something. Yeah. And the only one that I would say will always happen, unless your catering hire is all in-house, if you're hiring things like plates, glasses, there will, without a shadow of a doubt, be breakage fees.
Yes.
Because a champagne flute is always going to get broken, things like that. But they are insignificant. They are quite minor. And you've paid a damage deposit normally up front, so that doesn't hit you as well, like as hard as you might think. But yes, there are things like that well worth looking at.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess I've mentioned it in the last episode. I think we've mentioned it in a few episodes. But after your wedding, if your suppliers have been fantastic, be really generous in your reviews.
Yeah.
We find it really awkward, or at least I know I do, when I come to the end of it, if I've been... So this year, I've been nominated for an award. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Love that. Thank you so much. But then that means I'm asking my couples to give me a Google review, because that's the most important.
Of course,
so hint and tip, if there's anything you're going to do a Google review. But then I'm asking them to go on some of the directories, ask for reviews, and it helps bump you up if you get a directory review. I'm then asking them to vote for me in the awards.
And your couple will be expected to put a testimonial on there.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask of anyone, I think.
It's so much, and it feels so super awkward to ask those questions. What I would say is I do quite clearly say, just copy and paste.
Absolutely. It's one review, but yeah, you've got to hit 3 sites.
And also when you're doing, if it is for an award, they actually ask you quite a few questions sometimes.
Do.
So when it comes to after your wedding, when you've got a day that you can just do some admin, please do try to set aside a little bit of time just to go through and review everyone to the best of your ability. But I also completely understand if a couple goes, do you know what I can do? What's your most important? Google.
Yeah.
That is the most important. If you've only got time for one, please, if your suppliers have been great, or if they haven't been so great,
Just as important
to do an honest and fair review. But also if you can add photos.
Yeah, which is really lovely. And also that you're paying it forward a bit as well, because you're also helping couples who are potentially looking for other suppliers to actually have the benefit of your experience and to look at your photos and go, oh, that looked like an amazing day. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
and they are then inspired by your wedding. And that's just kind of nice.
It's also just nice for us to see the photos again and again and again, because we love them. So yeah, I would say give us a review.
Absolutely. And while we're sort of on the subject of thanks, whether it is gifts or time or support or just people who've attended, it sounds like a really obvious thing, but actually do thank people who've played a part in your happy day in whatever way. So even if you thank them on the day, I always think, and I go completely old school with this, if you can send a handwritten note, I think that just speaks volumes. I think it just really demonstrates to anybody and everybody who's been involved that actually you really appreciated whatever they did, or just attending. I think it's a really lovely thing to do, and for your guests to receive as well. I mean, some couples have postcards made out of one of their favourite shots, and I think that's a really lovely.
Yeah, and don't feel under pressure to do it in a certain amount of time. You don't have to do that the week after the wedding.
No, not at all.
Because you won't have your photos in that time. You might have a preview.
Yeah.
But it is a lovely thing to do. You don't always have to do it. You can do it by whatever means you normally communicate with people.
If you're a WhatsApper or a carrier pigeon or whatever you like, really. But I think the other thing to bear in mind is certainly from your guest's point of view. I think the recent figure that I looked up said it was around £700 per person just to attend a wedding. When that's travel, or whether it's a new outfit or an overnight stay or transport or whatever, or drinks. Actually, I think 700 sounds quite cheap. I suspect it's actually probably a slightly higher figure than that. But, people are not paying you, but they are there is a cost involved in attending your wedding. So again, just to thank people is both appropriate and actually just makes you a nice person.
Wildly Wed, the real wedding planning podcast.
So after your wedding, what have you got left? I mean, that sounds really depressing, doesn't it? I don't mean it in a terrible way. I mean, it's actually really exciting. What you've got left is your memories of your day. And that's great. You've got the stories that people have told you. You've got all that all the anecdotes. There'll always be something silly that has happened, something fun that's happened. So, remembering the day is fantastic. And obviously, the first and kind of biggest, easiest way to remember the day is your photos and your video.
Photos, oh.
So your photos is something that you are going to cherish, your video as well. But one of the things that I think couples fall short on quite often is not checking with your photographer, with your videographer or content creator, how long it's going to take them to deliver those photos to you. Because it's really not quick. When you look at what a photographer charges, you might go, oh, that's a lot of money to take some photos. No. They spend many hours editing those. So if you don't have those expectations, you can get a bit you can get a bit sad and a bit like, oh, I thought I'd have my photos by now. So always ask your suppliers.
What their timeline is for that.
What's the timeline?
Yeah. Something else that I think can often be underestimated is you've had your beautiful outfits, whether, that's your dress or his suit or her suit, whatever. Get clothing cleaned professionally as soon after your wedding as possible.
I wish I'd done that.
I know, you know what I'm going to say, because any stains or marks that you've accrued during the day, and it's inevitable, there's bound to be a sort of few champagne splashes or, goodness knows what else, somebody's spilt a, bit of sauce or something on you.
A little canapé.
Yeah, but the sooner those stains are dealt with, the much better chance you've got of actually having them removed. So again, it's a dull job to have to sort of put on the to-do list, but really, get your dresses, bridesmaids' dresses, wedding dress, all of that, just get it checked and into the appropriate place for cleaning. And I say appropriate place because sometimes a conventional dry cleaner is not going to be the appropriate place. So some years ago now, a friend of mine went on her honeymoon and asked me to get her dress dry cleaned for her.
Okay.
So I took it into the high street. Thank goodness they were really sort of straight and went, we won't touch that with a barge pole.
Oh.
And I said, why? It's because of the beading on it. Because it will, the process that we use potentially will discolour them, could melt the pearls. We just wouldn't touch it. So I thought, oh my goodness, Janet will marmalise me if I wreck her dress. But we ended up taking it to a sort of special costumier cleaning.
Okay.
So I think if you're spending a lot of money on your outfits, or even if you're just sort of buying them on the high street, ask whoever or check your labelling. What is the appropriate cleaning for this? And if you're having something that's bespoke and made, that the person or the company that is putting that together for you will tell you. We would recommend. And I would say, even if it sounds expensive, I would always take the advice of the specialists.
I was
on that.
just about to say about price. So I remember after my wedding, I did not do that. And I didn't do it because when I got the price for the cleaning, I was like, ugh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And now I have a fully stained dress.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was only my legal wedding, which was it was a high street number, so I wasn't as fussed.
I know, but it's waste, right?
It is waste, because what am I going to do with that now? And it's something to budget and plan in before if you can.
Yeah.
If you can go and find out the cost of doing that before and you just get it packaged up and just send it straight away, then it doesn't feel as painful after. But really, really important. Otherwise, it's kind of gone.
It is. And then when you get your clothes back and, that they're clean and beautiful again, do make sure that you finish the job, pack them properly. If you're putting them in storage, and actually you probably should put them in storage because you're not going to keep a wedding dress hanging out unless you live in a mansion and you have a wardrobe just for your wedding dress. Lovely idea.
My walk-in wardrobe.
My walk-in wardrobe. But, think about that again, and sometimes that can be quite pricey, but a proper dress bag or box or tissue paper or whatever it is that's recommended, it is really, particularly if it's something you're looking to potentially hand down as an heirloom.
And it's
or
the same
something.
with your ties, your suits. If you've got silk ties, if you've got your suit's been really expensive, it's been made for you, get it clean.
Well, hopefully, certainly with the suit, you will have the opportunity to wear that again.
Yes.
So, have it there all fresh and sparkly, ready to go.
Yeah, totally. Another thing after the day is your flowers. What do you do with your flowers?
Yeah.
So if you've had real flowers, obviously if they're artificial, you've either hired them, whatever, you can sell them on if you've bought them, or if you've hired them, they just go back, which is lovely. But if you've got real flowers, there are a few options of what you can do. So there's lots of people out there, and if you look on the likes of Etsy and places like that, you can preserve your bouquet. So they can preserve them in resin, they can do all sorts, they can press them, dry them, make them into a piece of art for you, something to hang on the wall or make it into a coffee table, things like that. So there are lots of ways that you can do that. If you go down that route, again, that's something you need to do pre the day. And I mean that, because I tried to get my bouquet preserved and I didn't do it in time, and the lady that I wanted to use just didn't have the capacity.
Yeah.
So you have to send it, request this really early, book it in, but they will give you really specific instructions as to how to look after the flowers at the end of the wedding day. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get the kind of end result
absolutely.
that you want. But also, if it's not the case, if you don't want to preserve it and that's not what you want to do, then how about, what are you going to do about regifting?
Well, funnily enough, one of the bits of feedback I had from a bride earlier this year said, she said, we had so many fresh flowers. Fresh flowers were really important to us, and it did. And it did. Their whole wedding looked absolutely magical.
Beautiful.
But she said, we gave some away, but we wished we'd given away more, because by the end of the night we were still trying to sort of pile things into the car, and there was we were going away. She said it was waste. So I think if you know that you're having a lot of flowers, I'd build that almost into your speeches.
Totally.
Nobody leaves without a floral arrangement.
Yeah, I've got to watch out for that though, because it's quite often I will do that at the end of the night. I will bunch up bouquets for your guests, or the next day, or the florists will sometimes come back the next day and bunch them up for you. The watch out is florists now try as hard as they can to avoid using, what do they call it? Floral foam, to not use the brand name. Therefore, they use chicken wire and they use their own vessels and things like that. You do not want your guests to be taking home their vessels.
Do not nick your florist's vase.
Because that's going to cost you money at the end of the day. And even the chicken wire, most of them reuse that.
Of course.
That's the whole idea, is not using floral foam is more sustainable because they can reuse things. So just be careful what you're doing. But do gift them. And another lovely place to give them to is nursing homes and hospitals.
Yeah, hospitals probably won't take them now.
Well, they're not. But nursing homes definitely do.
Nursing homes probably will. But also, just around your neighbourhood, one of my brides literally just walked out into the street and started handing them out to people, because she couldn't bear that they wouldn't sort of continue to be loved while they still had life in them. So, but again, a little bit of forethought goes a long way with that. So, which brings us on really to sharing the love quite neatly. But this also, I think, can help your bank balance. And after a wedding, because inevitably you will have always, unless you've been absolute budget ninja, the chances are you probably will have spent a little bit more than you intended. So rather than all those things that you sort of bought and used, don't just ram them in the loft, because that's the easy option. Get them on Facebook Marketplace or on the resale sites, sell them on, give somebody else the benefit. You're keeping stuff out of landfill and you're replenishing your bank balance. It is literally a win-win situation.
Totally. How lovely is it to see money come in rather than go out?
And if you know that sort of thing is going to be like, that's not my bag, I can't cope with that, ask one of your mates if they'll take that on as part of their bridesmaid duties or something like that.
Or don't do it in the first place and just rent everything. If you know you're not going to have the time, if you know also it's just too much, then that avoiding what you're buying is really key.
Wildly Wed, the real wedding planning podcast.
So this episode we're mixing things up a bit because we can. So we normally give you a sustainability tip and a supplier tip. Well, we're just having a little mash-up today. Our sustainability and supplier tip are one and the same, and we are going to speak with Makeup by Rowena.
So my sustainability tip would be, a lot of makeup artists use disposable mascara makeup wands in their kit, but to try and reduce plastic and try and reduce the use of that, we try to encourage brides to use their own mascara where possible, because quite often if you have a mascara you like anyway, then we can use the brush and it cuts down on using a little bit of plastic.
That's a smasher, Rowena.
Isn't it just? And our DIY tip for this episode, how about sharing your Spotify playlist? So loads of people, they create their Spotify playlist, so you spend a lot of time thinking about that. So share it with your friends, send it as part of your thank you. You can do, if you're doing physical thank you cards, you can send a QR code. If you're doing it over WhatsApp, you can just send them the link to the playlist. It's a nice way to share and continue if someone's had a great time listening to your music. Or someone might want to know what the song was that you walked down the aisle to. Things like that. So little DIY one there is, you can share it. If they listen to it, they do. If they don't, more for them. But then we are on to next episode, Vicky.
Come on, tease me up, Buttercup.
We're going to talk about suppliers you might not have thought about.
Oh.
We've touched on different suppliers before and extra things that you can have in your day, but next episode we're going to delve a little deeper into that. So we look forward to seeing you next time. We are Keshira and Vicky, and we are the Wildly Wed Pod. At Wildly Wed Pod on Instagram. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Please do like, subscribe, review and rate.
Nice.
See you next time.
Say I do to the Wildly Wed podcast. Follow us on Insta at Wildly Wed Pod.